Hi guys, I just wanted to quickly jump in here. I just got off a call with my group. I do Monday night trainings with my clients, and we do coaching work on nervous system regulation and stress and all those topics that's around the nervous system and regulating our nervous system and co-regulating with each other by sharing these things. So I just wanted to share this because we were talking about anger tonight and what our relationship with anger is, how that is impacting, our health and our wellness and the impact of that. And one of the biggest things I think that I wanted to share with you is really my relationship with anger has changed a lot in the last, particularly last few years. But I have a personal story, and some of you have heard this, where I had a tumor in my kidney almost 11 years ago. It was taken out. And a lot of that I know was repressed anger and not expressed, and this angry part of me that I was making wrong, and I didn't have a healthy way to express it. And so I had a very strange, and a lot of us do, weird relationship with anger in terms of my caretakers, how anger was expressed. I had a dad who was very angry, and it almost made me wrong then for being angry because I didn't want to be like him. I didn't want to be that angry man. I had a lot of resentment towards him for it, and a lot of the trauma as a kid that was caused as a result, and there was a lot of resentment. And if I became angry, then I was becoming my dad, and I made myself wrong for it. As a result, I repressed it and suppressed it so much that it then manifested as a tumor and literally exploded out of me. So it didn't work so well. And I knew deep down that this was a huge part of myself. I remember actually at the time, my partner was like, you have anger management issues. You need to go to anger management course, because I had all this. It was like starting to come out. It was like I couldn't control it. I had no control over it. I was completely unregulated, and I got angry, and to the point where I think I threw a bag of peas at his head once. I just had these fits of I could not control it anymore, and I couldn't keep it in. And the worst part was I made it really wrong, but so did other people around me made it wrong, including him and his family. And so I had to really change my relationship with anger and how I looked at it. And I knew that it was playing a massive role in my health. And anger is part of us. It's a healthy emotion. And a lot of the time, our primary caregivers did not also know how to express emotion. So what I want you to think about is how was anger modeled to you as a kid, and how was it expressed to you, and what was your experience of anger from your primary caregivers, from the people around you? Were you allowed to express anger, or were other people angry and you weren't, which I often see as well? Or was everyone angry and that was the only way people communicated and didn't have normal conversations? Or was anger never allowed and completely suppressed, and it's don't be angry, that's enough, shut it down? And so there's sometimes we'll have one, we'll have the other, or we'll have a combination of many, but not very many people have a healthy expression of anger. And this is also because we didn't have a safe container to express it, and it wasn't allowed. And so therefore it was made wrong, whether it was at school or whether it was in the home, or a combination of both. And then when we have anger that turns inwards, it eventually, like it did with me, manifests as disease. And I'm not saying that this is the only thing, but I know deep down that this was a huge part of me getting sick. And so I often see a lot of repressed anger turned inwards can often end up being autoimmune, other conditions where it's like anger is not allowed, or it's not suppressed, or it's not being generated or taken down the right funnels to be expressed. Yes. And so I want you to think about what's also your belief around anger. What's your belief around, is it okay to express anger? Isn't it okay? How is it modeled? What do I think about angry people? Do I judge them? Because I'm also judging myself. And so your answers to this can really inform us around what your relationship with anger really is. And do you have healthy ways to express it? I can also say a lot of my anger also manifested as skin condition, as acne. And it's definitely something I've got to constantly go, okay, when things start showing up in my body, I'm like, am I really giving myself full permission to express all those parts of me and give those parts of me a voice and not make them wrong? And so if we make them wrong, we suppress them, then we'll internalize and become depressed or angry at ourselves, and there'll be inner conflict, and there might be angry actions, angry behavior, but maybe it's at ourselves, or it's at other people, or it gets displaced. It becomes anger at everyone else except for the person that we should be angry at, or it comes down later down the road, like it did with me, because I didn't know how to express it. I didn't know how to healthily get it out. And it literally, I had no choice, and it exploded out of me. I'm not even joking. So we also know people sometimes that they'll snap. It's like they'll blow up deluxe, and you'll be like, oh my God, something happened all of a sudden, and they snapped. Yes. And so our relationship with anger, as with any emotion, is really, really important. And it's a healthy part of the human experience. For us to be a human, to be a whole being, to holistically heal, we must look at all of us, including the not so nice parts, the parts that we're ashamed of, the parts that we're judging. And if we don't, it turns inwards, and then it eventually manifests as some sort of health condition. And we constantly hear about how damaging stress is, but I feel like the dialogue of that conversation needs to change around rather just labeling everything as stress. I'm so stressed. It's like, you're so stressed because there's a pressure cooker going on inside, because you don't have a healthy way. We don't have a healthy way to express our emotions. And then we'll get acne, or then we'll get a tumor, or then we'll get IBS symptoms, or then we'll get an autoimmune condition. Yes. And so we've got to learn how to express it. We've got to learn how to get out of that. And what happens is, if we don't express it and it turns inwards, we go into shutdown, and then we become depressed or completely immobilized, become procrastinator. We can't make decisions. And so what we've got to learn to is actually use that anger in a positive way, and we're able to process it and actually express it in a healthy way. And there's many ways to do that. Having someone with you, around you, to hold a container to let yourself get it out. It could be writing a letter to yourself, typing that out on the computer. I find sometimes typing that out is way better. It might be talking to a friend and just saying, can you hold space for me? I need to vent, asking permission first. It could be doing some hardcore exercise, whether it's like a run or going and training. It could be doing some art where you can really like paint or get creative and really get it out that way. It could be punching the shit out of a pillow. It could be screaming into a pillow. It could be going into a forest and screaming. But we've got to find ways to process. It could be listening to really angry music and driving in the car, right? So we've got to find ways to process this. And sometimes we don't even know that we're doing it. And we need someone externally to point it out to us, because we can't see it. And we're like, why am I so stuck? Why do I feel like this? Why can't I move on? It's like, we've got so much to get out and we're not giving ourselves permission to get it out. When you go through that process of getting angry, if you can then get to tears, that's really good, because it's a really good way to process it out. It doesn't always happen. I find that it can be hard. But if I just give myself permission and not make myself wrong, the biggest part of these types of emotion, any type of a negative emotion, but particularly anger, is underneath there'll be other emotions like guilt and shame, but also we make them wrong. And that is partially because how we've been, I think a big part from how we've been conditioned in society, of looking at people who have been expressing them and it's come out the wrong way, and then everything gets umbrellaed. So it's really important part of health. And if you are struggling with a condition, any type of, whether it be a skin condition, weight loss, whether it be a thyroid, autoimmune, it's like digestion issue. Digestion's a big one. And I tell you why, because our vagus nerve is that nerve that links it's from our brain to our digestion. And it actually communicates more this way than it does this way. So from our gut to our brain, and there's a lot of communication that happens between the two via the vagus nerve. Now, the vagus nerve, it's called vagal tone. We need good vagal tone for our digestion to work. And often, if we are in constant state of alarm, our vagus nerve does not work. And so then therefore, or doesn't work as well, sorry, I should say. The firing of the vagus nerve does not work as well, and the communication between the gut and the brain doesn't fire as well. And so then we have this sluggish vagal nerve. It's called poor vagal tone. And we need a very good functioning vagus nerve for our digestion to work properly. And so a lot of the time when we're in a constant state of alarm, we don't digest our food properly. And what I notice is when people start to get tools to regulate their nervous system, and they start to feel safer in their own bodies by giving themselves permission to feel the things that they need to feel and having ways to outlet that and not making themselves wrong, is that digestion does start to get better and our health starts to get better. We start to sleep better. We can digest our food better. We get less symptoms. Not the only reason, but is one of the big drivers. And so we've got to really look at what our relationship is with these negative emotions, particularly anger, because you don't want to get to the point like I did, where I was like literally had a tumor exploding out of me because I was not expressing what I needed to express. And it still took me a long time after that. And it's still a work in progress to really give myself permission to feel things when they come up and not make myself wrong, because I judge myself for being that way. The kindest thing we can do for ourselves is give ourselves the expression to let things out. Let's process it. So then it doesn't affect, what's the impact of that if we don't process it? The people around us, not only does our health get impacted, but it also impacts our relationships. The people around us, they actually become in the firing line because we don't have healthy ways. And then that there's massive ripple effects of that. That is what creates trauma. That is what creates trauma in kids, So we've got to learn how to do that. I can't, if anyone gets any message out of this, it is please find a way to process your anger. It is really super important. And I would really love to know, what is your relationship with anger? How has that impacted you? And is that something that you've even considered to be one of your problems with your health condition? We can get I see people all the time getting caught up in going, I need to know what to eat, or I can't lose the weight, or, I just need to clear my skin. I'm like, okay, well, how are you processing your emotions? And a lot of time I can tell straight away that they're not, or they don't have adequate way, and they just get fixated on the thing that's going to fix them. But really it's a process, and we've got to learn to do this. And the power of doing that type of work on the other side is that then you also give permission for other people to not be wrong with their emotions, and they feel safe around you because you've given that. And there is a real gift in that, and that is really that can create ripples in the world, with relationships and healing the guts and the minds of the around the world. And so I would love to know if you have any stories around that, how you do process emotion. Have you got any suggestions? I would love to hear. And I'm going to go now because it's getting quite late, but I will see you all soon. Have a beautiful night. Bye.